Okay, this week, among other things, we're going to be discussing content versus form in film. We're going to be watching Dances with Wolves as our movie for the week. Now, I want to go over this concept briefly here. Content is what is being said. So, looking down here a little further, characters, dialogue, themes, symbols, basically what the scene is trying to convey, what they're trying to say to you. That's the content of the scene, or even what it's about. The form is how they accomplish that task, how they present those things. So camera movement, costumes, pacing, editing, plot structure, music, sound, etc. So usually if someone asks you what a movie is about, your response is going to be discussing content, right? What happened in the movie. But more often, if someone asks you what made a movie great, you're discussing form. You start to describe the intricacies of a scene and what made them so powerful. So let's look at an example from the opening to our film for this week, Dances with Wolves. I'm going to show you just about a minute, and then we'll discuss the difference between content and form.
Is this the last one?
I don't know. There's no ether either.
Jesus Christ.
You there! Is this the last one?
God, what a mess. At least there's no gangrene.
Well, there will be if it doesn't come off soon.
Well, I can't saw if I can't keep my eyes open. I'm sorry. Let's coffee up. He can wait a few minutes.
So at this point, the content of the scene is somewhat vague, right? We don't know what's happening. We don't know who these characters are, but there's definitely some themes, some symbolism here. There are themes of sort of horror and war and despair. And even though we don't know the story, the scene is very effective at creating emotions, at presenting these themes. And they do that through the form that they use. Right here.
I don't know. There's no ether either.
All you get are a couple of surgeons. In the background, you see soldiers as it pans out. You see there are lots of amputated limbs out there. When they toss the boots to the side.
Jesus.
Sorry.
You there! Is this the last one?
There we go. Right, without saying anything, the form of the scene lets us know that this is sort of a terrible time. And that's what we're going to be looking at throughout the movie. Often when a scene is powerful to us in film, it's because of the form. And often it's things that are unseen. But when you start to notice them, you start to realize just how much work went into the form of that scene to allow us to understand the content the way the filmmakers wanted the content to be understood. So we're going to watch a little bit more. We're going to get a little bit more content, but I want you to pay attention to the form. Let's skip to where we were. All right. Okay, so that's a brilliant example of form. They're taking their time. They're letting you see your surroundings through his eyes. They're not rushing things through. A lot of movies today are all focused on the camera shifts and movements and quickly going from scene to scene to scene, and it's hard to follow what's happening. They don't do that here. They give you the time to sit up with him, to see the surgical instruments, to look at the amputees over here, to start to feel what it might be like to be this character.
Oh, God.
All right, so there's your opening. Now, I found that the more I appreciate the form, the way that the filmmakers are presenting content to me, the more engaged I can become in a movie, or the opposite, the more, well, to go with our last week, the more difficult it is for me to suspend my disbelief because the intricacies of the form aren't sufficient to capture my imagination. But part of why I show this movie to you is because I feel it is an excellent, excellent example of form. And taking the time and taking the effort, and you'll see this throughout with the costumes and the languages and the story and all sorts of different things that we'll discuss, but taking the effort to find the form that best conveys the content. So you'll be doing this as you watch this film. But before that, there's an assignment today. You'll see the form attached, where I want you to think of a scene of a movie or a TV show that you've seen recently, one that you can go back and watch because you'll probably need to rewatch it. I want you to describe that scene. So it's kind of in your interest to make it a shorter scene so you don't have to spend as much time describing it. But describe the scene or describe the content of the scene. And then I want you to describe the form that makes the content so powerful. So you're going to find a scene that you found to be particularly enjoyable or powerful, and then dig into it and figure out why it had that effect on you. Because the why it had that effect is the form. It's the way that it was presented to you. So if there's a character and you just find yourself completely enamored with this character or you're connected to this character, it's because they've done something with the form and the way they present that character to you that makes them engaging. If an action scene was particularly exciting and you were on the edge of your seat, well, it's something that they did. It's the form they used to present that scene that made it so exciting. So your job today, your work today, is to fill out this form. Describe the scene, which is the content, and then dig into the scene. Watch it very carefully. You'll probably have to pause and start again a lot. And list out all the different types of form that were used to present that scene to you. So I've given you these here, right? Camera movement, costumes, pacing, editing, plot structure, music, sound, etc. It can be anything. This is not an exhaustive list. So just pay close attention to how they present that scene to you and why that made it so powerful.